OpenAI just released a very exciting update today, which is function calling on their API, which can be proxied as OpenAI plugins in their API. And how it works is by introducing these two new features, if you want to call it that. One is an argument, which is this function's argument you see here in their release documentation. And what this function's argument does is it basically instructs ChatGPT how to respond to you. So in this case, we want a function that has the parameters, properties, and unit. If you're familiar with making ChatGPT plugins, then this is the same as OpenAI.yaml, what that file did. So once it understands that this is how the user wants the data to be returned, it can then see what the prompt is and see if it's relevant to the function. And if it is, it's going to return a function response. It's going to return a response in JSON that which you can then parse in a nice, clean, structured manner, which is something that is much easier said than done, as I will describe in tomorrow's video. But that's really nice. What you can then do with that is you then parse the return data from OpenAI, which in this case, like what's the weather like in Boston, it's going to return the location for the location with semicolon Boston as in JSON, and then you can pass that into the weather API. And in my case, as I try to do it on ChatGPT Tutor, I just needed to call a function, which you can do just as easily or more easily. You would just pass it into a function. Once you've already ran the data through your API or your function or whatever you want to run it through, you then have to basically return that information back to OpenAI chat API through the role function. So just take a step back. What happens is the user originally has a prompt. That prompt is then parsed by ChatGPT here in, well, as location Boston, Massachusetts. This is where it parsed out the original prompt and return to you the location Boston, Massachusetts, which you then pass into an API, and the API return the role function with the whatever details you got from the API or function. And what this does at the end of the day is it maps out the API response or the function response to the original function, which you can see here. The name of the response is get current weather, and the name of the original function is get current weather. So it's able to map those two together, and that's important because you can basically pass as many functions as you want or plugins as you want. As you can see here, it's an array, and at the end, and what this ends up returning is an aggregation of all that information into one simple natural language query. The weather in Boston is currently sunny with a temperature of 22 degrees Celsius. So, yeah. That's pretty exciting, and I'm looking forward to integrating this into ChatGPT Tutor, and I'll be making a video about that tomorrow. Now, before you have too much fun with this, let me show you what the Node.js implementation for this looks like. And unfortunately, like any good developer, I decided to skip reading the actual documentation where they actually do have this integrated into their Python OpenAI client, which would have made things a lot easier, but, you know, screw reading, right? So I implemented it in Node.js, which was a pain in the butt, but it works. So this is what it looks like. If you want, you can pause the video, do whatever, but here is the implementation, and do with it what you will. Here are the responses, and yeah, have fun.